when the kohen does kohanim, does he say the word yebarechecha by himself, or does the hazzan say the word yebarechecha and the kohen follows and repeats yebarechecha after the hazzan as well? This is the question, right, Eddie? Good question. That's why I know. Okay, so in order to understand this, we just have to do a little bit of a background. So it's going to be at Yehavedat, but it's going to start out with the regular Shulchan Aruch with Hakam David Yosef Shalita, the chief rabbi now. And so why does the Hazan read at all to the Kohen? Why does the Kohen not have the ability to just say yebarechecha Hashem yishmerecha, Yereshem Parav Alecha V'Choneka? Like, why do we do the Hazan? One. What? Amor lahem. Yeah. So, that's one opinion. So the Gemara says. So Marash Shulchan Aruch says, "Matchilim haKohanim lomar yebarechecha." Marash Shulchan Aruch says the Kohanim on their own says yebarechecha, not the Hazan, just the Kohanim. This is Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah Ramoshi Isserles, he says Haga. And some say that even the word yebarechecha, the Hazan should also say. And this is the custom in all these countries, European countries. And then back to Shulchan Aruch, Maran says, after the Kohanim said yebarechecha by themselves, then the Hazan says, Mila b'mila. Because the prices, I think I was the Khazan and he said no, he was the maybe you also. It happened a couple of times. Yeah. So we're gonna do it right now. So what is the reason for this? So Chacham David explains in the bottom here. First of all, it says in the Midrash, Amor Lahim, you tell them, which means tell who? You should tell the Kohanim that they should tell to us, maybe. That's one opinion. There's also the Gemara, the Gemara that says the Kohanim don't start Kohanim until they're read, and Achim Makriotam. You have to call out to the Kohanim before they start, which seems to mean that you have to tell the Kohen each word what he has to say back to you. However, most opinions in this Gemara don't learn this way. Most opinions in the Gemara learn when the Gemara says you call to the Kohanim, it just means you say, Kohanim, you call them and invite them to bless. Like the Syrians do, like my father does, you hear loud. Everyone yells out, Kohanim b'chavod. Like, Kohanim, now it's your time to go, and then they can start doing themselves. So it's a question what the Gemara means. Does the Gemara mean that you should call out each word to them? Or the Gemara means you just say Kohanim? There's another Gemara, there's another source here that would be, we're afraid the Kohanim are going to mess up and forget, because after all, they're under the Talit. Now, the Talit thing didn't start until way later. Originally, there was no Talit when they did Kohanim, but they've been in the Beit HaMikdash, but now they're in the Talit, and they don't have a Sidur. And so maybe they're going to forget and get mixed up in what word they're on. So the Kohen tells them what word they're on, just so they don't make, the Hazan tells them what word they're on, just so they don't make a mistake. The question is, you can't trust them to remember the first word? Yebarechecha, they're going to make a mistake on the first word? I don't think they're going to make a mistake on the first word. So there are many opinions who hold, if this is the reason why we do it, there's no reason to do it for the first word. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. Chacham David Yosef says, the ayin, I'll read one paragraph from Chacham David and then we'll go to Chacham Ovadia. Ayin v'pri megadim. The Pri Megadim says, שכתב לתלות המחלוקת בזה, אם בעינן שיקרא להם השליח ציבור, הוא דרשה גמורה מן התורה, או אינו אלא אסמכתא בעלמא. With this מחלוקת of do you say yebarechecha? Am I blocking you? Oh, I'm so sorry. You want to move it? It should be over there. This mahloket, whether you say the word yebarechecha, should be the same mahloket of why we do it in the first place. The mahloket of whether the kohen says the word yebarechecha on himself or the hazan says it is really tali, says the Pri Megadim, in the other mahloket of why we do the repeating in the first place. Says the Pri Megadim. If it's an actual halacha, amor lahim, you have to tell them the kohanim words before they say it. Then Lord Darshina and Ta'amat Ikra. You don't give reasons for the pasuk and say, well, they're going to remember the first word by themselves, so you don't have to do the first word. The pasuk says, Amun lahim. Tell them the words, even the first word you have to tell them. Tzarich la'akrot af yebarechecha. But according to the other reason, that it's not really a source from the Torah. We just do it so they don't get mixed up. If it's only asmachta pasuk, the pasuk is not a really mitzvah deoraita. It's only so they don't make a mistake. Then when you have to read the yebarechecha first, they're not going to make a mistake on the first word. The Rambam, the Kesef Mishneh writes also on the Rambam. The Rambam seems to hold in the Hebrew versions of the Rambam that you say yebarechecha, but in the Arabic versions of the Rambam, no, the opposite. The Hebrew versions of the Rambam, it seems the kohen, the hazzan doesn't say yebarechecha. In the Nusach of the Arabic, which is the original and the Pirush Mishnah of the Rambam, he seems to hold that you do say yebarechecha. And so even in the Rambam itself, people argue, what does Rambam hold? Now I'm going to do a Cham Ovadia. This is not actually a question in Yehavedah, but it's a footnote in one of the questions. It says Cham Ovadia. Allah Shalom. He says, "Yesh lilmod shenachon yoter sheyeh hazan makre et hakohanim gam tevat yebarechecha." It's really better for the hazan to say even the word yebarechecha. Remember, Maran Shulchan Aruch says the hazan doesn't say yebarechecha. Over here it says it's really better to say it. Why? So because we have to finish the beracha of Atov Shebechal Mechane Leodot, pause, and then we go to the kohanim, and then they say the beracha, and we answer Amen, pause, and then we rush. They say yebarechecha. He'll explain further. In the Hebrew Rambam, it seems the Hazan doesn't say it. The Rambam would hold the reasons only so they don't make a mistake. The first word, they're not going to make a mistake, so what's the point of doing it? And this is the minhag of all these Sephardic countries. It was to not say the word yebarechecha to the kohanim. About the Tur and the Ran and other Ashkenaz poskim, they hold shegam tevat yebarechecha yesh te'akrotam lekohanim, that you do say the word yebarechecha. Maran Shulchan Aruch says, like the Rambam in the Hebrew, that you don't say the word yebarechecha to the kohanim. It seems this was a Sephardic custom all around. The Rama Katav, the Rama writes, but in the Ashkenaz countries, the Hazan does say the yebarechecha. And the Knesset HaGedolah explains, even in the Middle Eastern countries, they started doing like the Rama says, and they started also saying the word yebarechecha. If you look at the Rebbeinu Bachya and the Kli Akkad, you should say the word yebarechecha. Now, says the Chacham Ovadia, if you look at the Ben Ish Hai, in the Sefer Rav Pa'alim and also in the Sefer Ben Ish Hai, he writes, in Baghdad, in Iraq, they did like the old Sephardic countries, that the Hazan did not say yebarechecha. And he writes, Hinhig Be'ir Baghdad, the Ben Ish Hai changed the custom in Iraq, in Baghdad, Atre Damad, which was his city, La'akrot l'kohanim, Gam Tevat yebarechecha, he changed it and he told everyone that the Hazan should also say the word yebarechecha, al pi asod shegila Rabbeinu Bachya, according to the secret of the Rabbeinu Bachya. Even though in Iraq they never did this, the Hazan never read yebarechecha, the kohanim did it on their own. He changed the custom. The Ben Ish Hai changed the custom. And he taught that the Hazan should do like the Ashkenazim do. He should say yebarechecha also, because Kabbalistically it would be better. And that was the Mikubalim in Yerushalayim used to do. And he also wrote, besides for the Kabbalistic reason, הכהנים מסמיכים במהירות תיבת יברכך לסיום ברכה שמסיימת בתיבת באהבה, הכל בנשימה אחת. The kohanim used to stay, and no one has a chance to answer Amen after the beracha. They rush into the yebarechecha. So what happens? ולא היה סיפק ביד הציבור לענות אמן אחר ברכתם, וכעת אשתנה למיעוטה. Now I change the minhag, and the kohanim don't say it on their own. They wait for the hazzan. It's better. שעד שהשליח ציבור מתחיל לענות ברכת, the hazzan will wait a second after they finish their beracha. מספיקים הציבור לענות אמן. Everyone can answer amen after the beracha, the kohanim. And he writes the same thing in the Sefer Ben Ish Chai. Says Achal Ovadia, V'chen hinhakti b'siyata d'shmaya. I did the same thing as in Ben Ish Chai. I changed the custom. B'beit HaKnesset Oel Moed, Be'ir Tel Aviv. And when he was the rabbi in Tel Aviv, he changed the custom there as well. And he said, you have to change it and do like the Ashkenazim and make the Hazan say the word yebarechecha. Be'askamat HaKahal, he got everyone to agree to do it. And so Achal Ovadia himself changed, and this is a rare occurrence where he argues and says, don't do like Mana Shulchan Aruch, and don't do and don't let the kohanim start immediately yebarechecha. Rather, let the Hazan read yebarechecha by themselves. Now, there's one more thing here. When there's one Hazan, when there's one kohen, let me find it here. Yeah, exactly. The Syrians do it. So the Syrians, we do this. The Hazan doesn't say yebarechecha. I'm sure the Turks are the same, no? With the we have so many. The kohanim, everyone on their own, yebarechecha. But when there's one kohen, they never did it on their own. And I know David brings it over here also. Let me see if I can find it. Like the main top is the confusion. That seems to be the main top. The Amor does not play a role. Not really. Most people don't agree with the Amor. They think it's just not to make a mistake. There's other halachot that go into this. Like, why doesn't the Hazan say Amen after the kohanim? And so the Gemara says, because maybe he'll get mixed up. You got the question? The Gemara says, why doesn't the Hazan answer Amen to the kohanim? The Gemara says he might get mixed up. Why would he get mixed up? Yeah, it seems. Why shouldn't you say Amen? It seems you should, and so it's almost the same mahloket he brings down. Get mixed up with what? If you hold the Hazan is saying each word, he's for sure going to get mixed up because we need him to say each word. But if you hold it the other way, that the kohanim just do it on their own, he'll get mixed up and not remember Sim Shalom. It's talking about the Amen on the final of the kohanim, and he's not going to remember where Sim Shalom is. And so it seems similar situation here. But I want to find this halakha about the one kohen, because I know he brings it. Otherwise, I'll just do it by heart. If this one kohen, even the people that hold the kohanim on their own say yebarechecha, when there's one kohen, even those people, the kohen does not say yebarechecha on his own. He waits until the hazan does it for him. And I can't find it here. And so what I told our kohen is, I think the opposite. It was the inverse. So the Syrians do this way also. When there's one kohen, you don't say yebarechecha, you wait. And so so much written. It's a proof that we should really say yebarechecha and the whole thing. So nobody makes mistakes. You're sitting here and you say, yeah, you will remember. But if there are many kohanim, somebody would probably remind the other kohen. So if maybe many kohanim, maybe we should realize that between all of them, they'll never confuse the bracha. Yeah. Maybe we should. It's so nitpicking on it that it seems like it's much better the Hazan than the Kahal is in tune, the kohanim is in tune. There is something in the way the Hazan that aligns everybody. Agreed. And this, I'm going to read you Acham David. I found it. Acham David says, here's the summary. The according to Mana Shulchan Aruch, en hashliach sibur makri tivat yebarechecha kohanim. The Hazan doesn't say yebarechecha. Ela hem matchilim be'atzmam. They do it on their own. Umikom makom, however, he says, ken minhag da'at kama mi'idut haSfaradim. A lot of Sephardic shuls do this. V'yesh lehem mashe yismochu, and they have what to rely on. Mana Shulchan Aruch. It's even better. It's really better they change the minhag and the Hazan reads yebarechecha. Even let's say a Syrian place where the minhag is the Hazan doesn't say yebarechecha. If they want to change their custom after reading this, and they change it, they can change their custom. We don't want to have a fight in the shul. If everyone agrees, like Chacham Novadia did in Tel Aviv, like Chacham Ben Ish Chai did in Iraq. Some say when there's only one kohen, V'chol hadaot, according to everyone, sarich she'akri lo ashliach tzibur gam tebat yebarechecha. You also have to read yebarechecha to the guy. Who says this? It's Kuf Chav. The Maharam Mintz writes it, and the Sefer Leket Yosher writes it. The Magen Avraham writes this. Havot Yair, Shulchan Aruch Reb Zalman, that's the Chabad rabbi. Pri Megadim writes it. Be'eretev, Magen Gevurim, Mishnah Berurah, Kaf HaChaim also. Kaf HaChaim writes this as well. Ve'yesh Holkim, and other people argue, and that's the Syrian custom. So I think the halacha would be like a Ve'yesh. So even if you hold that the kohen would say yebarechecha on his own, if he's the only, definitely not. Let the hazzan do it. All in all, it's best for the hazzan always to do it. That's the halacha for today. The hazzan should always do yebarechecha. Right? Hazzan should always do yebarechecha. Always.